The problem with the ego is that discernment is lacking, perception is distorted, and joy is suppressed. And that's pretty much all there is to it. It's a disconnect from God. And it's a contraction into the ego. For example, I like to think of the ego as existing, well, even your existence, as being on a continuum from far away from God to very near to God. And the ego is on the lower half of this continuum, where you would say that it is contracted, or that it is disconnected from God. And so that's the fundamental problem. When you're disconnected from God, you're suppressing your joy, you're disconnected from your discernment, you're not seeing things clearly. And all of these problems that the ego creates is running amok inside of your own mind, to the point where you don't know how to solve them. Even if you did know how to solve them, you'd probably do it in the way that just creates more pain and more suffering. The ego is a mess. It's just a mess. It's a disaster. It's selfish and it's small. And it runs you. You're not even the ego. Like, so many people want to identify with the ego and say that, oh yeah, this is me. Well, it's like, was that really you? Most of the ego is just what the animal wants to do. It's just run by the biology. It's just you're just a product of your own needs. You're not even doing anything. Like, what even are you outside of your own needs, trying to get those met with defense mechanisms and strategies and patterns of behavior that you've learned in your past, and just random dopamine addictions that you have? Like, outside of that, what are you really doing? What is it? I don't understand. So that's a massive problem with the ego, is that it doesn't even allow the transcendent part of yourself to come out, because it can't even see it. It thinks that it's real, basically. It thinks that it has an existence unto itself. It thinks that it can exist without God. So many atheists think that. I could be straw-manning their argument. Whatever. So, generally, that is the problem with the ego. And sometimes the ego will even say, like, look, I don't care about the ego. This is not important. Or that idea is not important. Whatever it is. As if the ego could even perceive what is important and what is not important. This isn't a problem that the ego can actually solve. It's not even a thing that you can do. Like, you can't look at one thing, look at another thing, and really understand the difference between them without going very far into depth. That's not something that we as humans have the capability of doing. We have to rely on all of these decision-making heuristics. There's so many decision-making, like social proof, or like authority, or celebrity, or value in stories, and all of these different ways of how we make decisions. So the ego fundamentally cannot decide what is truth versus false. And it's a silly little thing. It's an animal that runs amok. And it's you. Kinda. It's the little you. Oh, yeah. I guess that's it.